This is Stalked by My Doctor, The Return. Yes, Dr. Beck is back, and he's in Acapulco, Mexico, posing as Victor Slauson, a paediatrician sent by a non-profit to take care of the kids. We see that he's met this woman, and he's already boasting about his house. Oh, and now he's got a boat too. But this woman already has her own money, and his plan massively backfires.
Compared to my place, you live in a shack.
So Victor storms off in a mood. Next day he's on the beach, hiding from the police, when he sees a guy carrying a girl from the sea screaming for help. It turns out the girl's not breathing, so he breaks cover and saves her life. After lapping up a round of applause, he goes to the hospital to check if the girl, Amy, is okay, and she is. Beck introduces himself to her mum, Linda, as Victor Slauson, so let's call him Victor from now on. Clearly he's taken a liking to Amy, so regurgitates the old "look at these photos of my house and boat" line, but this time it's worked.
What?
Amy is seriously impressed and suggests they take him to dinner. Linda is hesitant, so Victor settles for a photo with them both instead. Late that night, he's telling who I'm guessing is his online psychiatrist about Amy, and drops in that he's thinking of flying to San Diego where they live and dating the mother in order to get close to the daughter.
Excuse me?
The psychiatrist strongly recommends that he does not go through with this plan, so Victor sacks her and starts crying.
Nobody understands.
So on his way to San Diego, Victor is nervous because he's worried about being recognised as Dr. Beck, as he has flashbacks of the crimes he's wanted for in the US. If you've not seen the first one, the link is in the description. He has a premonition in which he's stopped and arrested, but in real life, he flies through with no trouble with his fake passport. When he first met Amy, Victor noticed that she wore a Hamilton High School sweatshirt at the hospital, so naturally, he's pulled up outside that school to watch her from his car.
Of course. Well, isn't that what most people do?
Her friends leave her alone and Victor is about to approach her when what's this? Oh dear, it's her boyfriend, Garth. Garth clocks Victor staring at Amy, runs over to the car, drags him out, accuses him of staring at her and hits him. Amy says, "Stop it, I know him."
This is the doctor I was telling you about. He saved my life in Acapulco.
Victor explains that he had no other way of contacting her and had to give her this personalised life jacket.
My bad.
So it's all forgotten about, and next we see the three of them having lunch together. Victor asks Amy how her mum Linda is, and apparently she's not good. She's got all sorts of illnesses and depression. Amy asks Victor to talk to her, so he gives her his card and says she can call him at any time. Garth suggests Linda needs a boyfriend, not a doctor, so Victor tells them he's up for it.
Your mom is part of the reason I tracked you down.
I beg to differ.
When Amy gets home, she tells Linda she bumped into Victor and that he's keen to go on a date with her. So next we see they're at dinner together. Linda asks Victor what he wants with her, and as he can't just come out and say, "I want to bang your teenage daughter," he tells her he's liked her ever since they met in Mexico.
That's a crock of shit.
He somehow managed to swing this around, and on the way home from the date, she tells him how hard it was losing her husband 8 years ago. Her husband, who died falling from what looks like a 7-foot ladder.
What an idiot.
And yes, I'm a loser, but I've actually taken the trouble to work this out. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt and say that the actor, who is uncredited, is 6 feet tall. The woman who plays Linda is 5'3", so that's generous. Let's place Peter here in a position where he'd be holding on to the top rung of the ladder. Right, so that's 3 rungs of the ladder. Taking perspective into account, maximum 6. At most, that's 6 feet.
Smart.
Could have slightly injured himself had he just hung onto the ladder the whole time and allowed himself to hit the ground head first. But for plot purposes, he's dead. So anyway, Victor pretends to be interested in Linda's shit dead husband chat, so she'll invite him into her house. He gives her some sleep medication and starts to help her get over her fear of heights. It seems that's enough now and he's her boyfriend, as next we see them playing soccer on the beach with Amy and Garth. But all Victor wants to do is stare at Amy in her bikini. Victor then questions Garth about his intentions with Amy. Bit weird considering it's his second date with her mum. And Garth tells him he wants to spend the rest of his life with her and that he wants to get married as soon as they graduate. Victor doesn't like that answer and tries to get Garth to admit he's sleeping with other women.
Come on, dude, you're only young once.
I'd say you were checking her out when we were playing soccer.
This has pissed Victor right off. So he gets in his car, drives really fast thinking about Amy and Garth and cries.
I'm a doctor! I'm a doctor!
Back at his house, Victor fills a bottle of Linda's favourite iced tea drink with a laxative. Later that night, he breaks into Linda's and swaps the bottles over. He nearly gets caught when Linda comes downstairs but finds a decent hiding place. Amy then comes down too, and it turns out that it's Amy's iced tea that he's drugged, not Linda's. Next morning, Amy wakes up sweating and puking. Bonus for Victor because Amy is sick. Linda has called him and asked him to come over and check her out. He says he'll be over immediately. He just needs to finish his seriously creepy pancakes first.
My goodness.
Turns out Amy just has the shit, but Victor insists on a blood test anyway. He says he's taking it to the lab, but he isn't. He calls Amy into a doctor's office. He doesn't work there obviously, but he's there in a white coat pretending he does. He then reveals the fake results of her blood test to her. And look, it's genital herpes.
What?
Yep, she's now convinced that Garth has been sleeping around. When she turns up at school to see him, he's talking to 2 other girls and asks him which one of those girls he's hooked up with.
What?
He has no idea what she's on about and says either the test is wrong or it's Amy who's been shagging around. She takes this badly and walks off. Back at the house, Victor is still helping Linda with her fear of heights. He's even managed to get her up a ladder. The same ladder that he's put in exactly the same position it was in when her husband fell to his death from it.
Why?
Amy is still not talking to Garth, who insists the blood test is wrong and that he still loves her. Later, we see Victor helping Amy with her physiology homework, and obviously the topic is sex and orgasms. Victor can't control himself and gets carried away.
It deepens the feelings of attachment and makes couples feel much closer to one another after they've had sex.
What?
And the more sex you have, the higher your oxytocin level. And the deeper the bond becomes, the deeper your bond becomes.
What?
Have you ever experienced anything like this?
What?
This makes Amy feel uncomfortable, so the next day she tells her mum that Victor was coming on to her and that he's a pervert.
What?
But her mum doesn't take her concern seriously. Victor explains to Linda that it's all a misunderstanding.
I'm a doctor.
Goes home, looks at the photo he took in Mexico and fantasizes about banging Amy. Next day it turns out that Victor and Linda are getting married. Amy's clearly not happy about this and thinks her uncle Roger may be able to help her. Linda's younger musician brother who keeps a motorbike in his kitchen.
Oh, I see.
He reluctantly agrees to come to San Diego to meet Victor.
So your guys were in Acapulco like 2 months ago. That's fast.
At first it seems Amy's plan has backfired as Victor tells Roger he's downloaded one of his songs.
Which one?
The one about the gambler.
And the girl who met on the bus.
And that he used to play in a band. That's enough for Roger to drop any concerns.
My brother, do you want to grab a beer in the back?
That is, of course, until he catches Victor lying about having lived in Salt Lake City. Roger then goes to the hospital to see if Victor works there, and he doesn't. He asks the receptionist to check the entire database of doctors and to let him know where Victor is registered. And as expected, there's no Victor Slauson registered anywhere in California. Victor and Linda are now at lunch. When Linda goes for a shit, Uncle Roger calls. Victor declines the call and hears the voicemail, where Roger explains to Linda that he's found out Victor isn't who he says he is. So he sends Roger a message from Linda's phone telling him to meet her at her house in 30 minutes, then deletes it. Linda goes back to work and Victor goes to the house where Roger is supposed to meet her. And look, he has a syringe.
What the hell are you doing here?
He tries to stab Roger, but Roger blocks it with a cereal box. A fight breaks out and Roger wins easily, but Victor grabs the syringe, stabs Roger, and puts him in the trunk of his car. Back at his house, he's put Roger in the bath and fills it with acid. Next thing we see is Victor and Linda getting married. There's no signs of Roger, and it's assumed he's back in LA.
Don't worry about him. I'm sure he's back in LA doing whatever it is he does.
Linda and Victor are going to a vacation house 45 minutes away for their honeymoon, so Amy will be left at home on her own. Just after the wedding, Victor is on a video appointment with his psychiatrist he sacked earlier in the film. She tells him she read a story about a doctor wanted for kidnapping and attempted murder in Los Angeles.
His name is Dr. Albert Beck, and he looks like this.
Oh my goodness.
So an FBI agent jumps on the call and tells him to turn himself in, so he starts shouting at him. Amy walks in and sees that Victor is actually shouting at a switched-off laptop. Amy asks who he's talking to, and Victor says, "Oh, nobody, when you live alone."
You end up doing stuff like that.
So Victor and Linda are off on their honeymoon, and Amy gets a call from Garth, who's just had his own blood test back, negative for genital herpes, and says he thinks Victor faked her test in order to break them up.
I think Dr. Slauson faked your test.
Amy is now in full detective mode and goes over to Victor's house, where there is no furniture or food, just some evidence that he's planned to kill her mum on their honeymoon. She immediately calls the police to try and get someone to go to the house that Victor and Linda are staying at, but they don't take it seriously. So she goes there herself and tells Garth to meet her there. Victor is getting Linda drunk and blindfolding her, and it looks like he plans to trick her into jumping off the terrace. Amy interrupts them, so Victor casually pushes Linda to her death.
Amy!
He pins Amy on the bed, but Linda is not dead. She's managed to grab on and pulls herself back up to the terrace. She goes in and smashes Victor over the head with a champagne bottle. The police arrive and arrest him. Garth arrives. He's late, but at least he came, so he and Amy are back together. Cut to the prison. Dr. Beck is being held in, and he's writing poetry. The female prison guard starts choking on a chocolate bar, and he saves her.
I owe you one.
Until next time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and check out this other video. Thank you.